Next thing we're going to be watching is a little bit of Twitch drama. This happened a couple days ago. I want to say this past weekend, but I would say like 2-3 days ago. But this was a clip that was taken, spliced, thrown onto LSF, and has been a big talk in the Twitch community. So I thought we would talk about it a bit.
I feel like I'm probably such a curmudgeon. Like, I'm probably bringing the mood down. I'm tired. I've expended all my energy on you for 9 hours.
I will say that's the other thing. Like, it is harder to stream. It is hard to stream, I think, longer than, like, I would say longer than 8 hours. It is hard. It is an actual challenge. I think before I could probably stream 10 hours, no problem. It is hard to stream that long nowadays.
In 30 minutes. And then I take this one drink.
9 hours and 48 minutes.
I left the party and like I spent like an hour. I left my brother and my other friend behind. I was like, y'all are on your own, okay? Let God sort it out. But honestly, the real reason why I get like insecure when I'm out at events like that is because like I am a fun-loving person. I promise. But the issue is after 9 hours and 30 minutes of streaming, like high intensity, I am not a fun-loving person. At that point, I'm just like, I'm so tired. Like the life has been stripped from me. But yeah, my point is I personally,
even if it's like your 4 hour stream, it is like a social hangout because there is so much social aspect to it that it is socially draining.
I don't want people to think that I'm like, you know, I hate being around them. I don't. I'm just really tired.
I worry about that without streaming. I worry that I'm not being like sociable. And I think that's just anxiety. Like when you're in a social situation and you're not giving your best, like you're not contributing to the conversation, you're just sitting, and then you're not really like people aren't getting like necessarily a negative experience from you, but they're not necessarily getting a positive one from you either. You're just kind of there. You get kind of in your own head of, oh man, people must really dislike that I'm not part of this conversation. You do get in your own head sometimes. That's why I stopped streaming during the week and my nights off, full time off of work, and then streaming is draining. Exactly. I do a stream after work. My stream goes 7 to 4, like my work goes 7 to 4, and then I stream from 5. Typically until like 10, you know, and I try to balance it that way. But I will say on the days that I start late, which semi happens quite frequently, on the days that happens that way, it's because I just want to relax a second before going into streaming. It's like, it's hard to just turn on the stream sometimes.
So I'd rather like avoid those kind of circumstances. Now you know how it is with real jobs feel. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I used to have a real job and I was infinitely more social, because this is the one area where I absolutely will disagree with you on. Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can.
I don't know the perspective of what a full-time streaming job or streaming is, or if it could qualify as a job. But the amount of work it takes to make it a full-time job or full-time like financial source for you to completely have no other form of employment under somebody else, I could easily see it taking 8 hours, 3 to 5 days a week. I could easily see that. Just because you're doing it at a computer, that doesn't make it not worthwhile of being a job, because there are people who are at IT jobs, who are at a computer all day. Now, I think where this chatter is coming from is they're saying that now you know how real jobs feel, because he's saying after the end of stream, you must not feel tired or exhausted, except for in this 9.5 hour situation. Now you understand. He's saying that the way that work is exhausting is not the is harder than how streaming is exhausting. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's exhausting in different ways. I think where he's skipping over is that the state that Hasan is at right now is that he's able to do a stream, probably hit end stream, and then that's it. He has editors who probably do his videos. He's got mods who manage his chat. Really, he is just having to react to content, talk about content, but really his content is his expertise. So he's not really putting in the legwork. So after that 9.5 hour stream, he's able to turn off, head to bed. But getting to that stage, how long that takes, is not always like his situation where he had something previous beforehand. I think that what his position is a position earned. Like he's earned his position as a full-time streamer because he's been putting out content for years now. So it's like, yes, he's at a steady state where he doesn't have to manage the nitty-gritty of streaming, like editing videos, posting the content to YouTube, making sure your things match the algorithm. He's more of on the front end than on the back end of that. But I don't think that means that he doesn't understand that. The amount of work it takes to get to high level streaming is insane. Video editing, networking, once you get to high level streaming, you outsource all of it. So I think once you're bigger, it'll be much easier. Yeah. It's like saying like a corporate CEO doesn't understand it. It's like, yeah, maybe there's examples of a corporate CEO who did nothing to get up to the position that we had. We have like things like nepotism for a reason, but that's not the case for everybody. And as far as I know, I think he does have a family, like a rich family, as far as I know, that helped start his business. But to stay in this business, I wouldn't say that's all family run or owned. A lot of his has been self-operated and owned, and it's been his own venture and not really one of, if it was like something like he's working for his parents' business, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, you have some ground to stand on. But I don't really see that being the case here.
Make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will. No,
I disagree with that. I disagree with what he's saying there. I think that a job can and does suck the soul out of you. As a current and active duty military member that has left many a day with my soul being drained. I don't think, because what he's saying is that the way that streaming works is that it drains you more so. Like you could say he's saying they're equal, but I think he's saying that the way that streaming drains you is different, if not harder, than a way a job drains you. And I think that's a little bit of a miss, because I think when you're working a regular job, there are social aspects that are socially draining as well as physically draining. I think he's saying that like a job is physically draining, whereas a streaming job is socially draining, maybe mentally or emotionally draining. But I think that a job can be both physically and emotionally draining. It's not just single dimensional like that. Depends on the job, yeah, but 99 out of 100 jobs, I'd rather stream for a living. Yeah, I would say streaming as a whole has a reputation of being sort of like the easy life, you know, and I know that streamers, from a perspective, anyone who's streamed for any amount of time would probably understand that it's a lot harder than it seems. But it's like, I would love to be a CEO of a company, but working to get to a CEO of any job would suck. What we want is we want to blow up, go viral, be at his state. We want to be at his state where he's at, but like immediately. Like that's what we want. And I think that's the issue. It's like because that doesn't happen. That's just not how it works.
No, social battery wise, unless you're in retail.
Okay, so he kind of corrects himself. So he's saying it drains you socially. Like but still, I think a job can drain you socially equal, if not even more so, because you are doing physical labor as well as there is a social toll when you have like managers and stuff like that. So I still disagree with him.
I'm gonna die, dude. There's motherfuckers who are accountants in here and they're misunderstanding what I'm saying. A real job does not expend your social battery in the same way as someone who did a sales job, a real job. I'm telling you,
yes, it doesn't do it in the same way. Yeah, they're different.
Someone who did both, 9 hours of constant performance and people pleasing taps you out from social scenarios. After 9 hours of that, I could probably do physical labor. It would not bother me. But
so he's equating, it sounds like he's equating streaming to a retail position, but not like a stocking position. He's talking like, or maybe not even like a cashier position, but like a retail, like a strictly sales position. Like you're on the sales floor of maybe like car sales. Not to say that people aren't working the whole time that they're on the clock, but streaming is something where it's like, you can't be very switched off for streaming unless you're like one of those streamers who's like specifically focusing on gameplay in that aspect. For streamers, for the most part, are switched on the entire time they're live. At least the good streamers are. The streamers that are like strictly gameplay streamers, they're switched on, but in a different way, right? Like they're constantly playing their game well, and they're very good at it. But if you're like a just chatting streamer, for example, that's draining in other ways. So it's like, it is different, if not harder, because you have to be constantly on. Whereas, yeah, maybe a good retail position person or salesperson could also do that. Typically you're limited with like, okay, you're doing a transaction with somebody, but it's one person, or you may have like 10 people you're doing a transaction with. And then like that's like the rush, and then it's done for a little while. Maybe you get a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a break, or it's just like in the total of a day you made this much in sales, but that equated to a like 20 interactions. Whereas with streaming, there's typically numerous, if not hundreds, of interactions. So it is a lot more interactions in streaming.
Worth interaction for 9 hours. That's what like sucks your social battery, and you just tap out after it. Yeah, think about it this way. You give presentations for your job, right? Imagine giving a presentation for 9 hours straight. After a while, you would be like, I don't want to talk ever again.
A stereotype or judgment that's made, it's like, oh yeah, the only real type of job is physical labor. That's something that's honorable. That's something the real man does. That's something that actual adults do. But at the same time, who are the people we look down on the most? People who do physical labor. We look down on those physical labor jobs and those jobs as being simple. To skip like the lengthy, like the lengthiness of what happens next. Basically going through LSF, I think XQC reacted to this. There was a group of people who reacted to this who I'm not even going to bother giving them the time of day. Like they purposely misunderstood, I think, what he was saying to be like, oh yeah, that is what he's saying. I understood what he was saying from a very basic like overview of that clip. The clip was taken out of context. I think they simply took out the part where they're just like, if you've never like basically saying like, this is harder than this. They took the one bad take portion where it was like, basically, unless you have a retail position, streaming is more exhausting. I think people are being intellectually dishonest, and they're saying that basically, oh, he was saying that streaming is harder than my job. But I think if you look at it for like the context of the clip, even without the context of the clip, with what he said, I think he's saying it's exhausting in different ways. That a mental exhaustion of streaming is more mentally exhausting than saying a normal 9-to-5 job. Now, is that true? 100% no. There are jobs that are socially, mentally exhausting, as well as being a physical toll. But this idea that we value physical labor jobs is simply not true. The fact that bad jobs, maybe you get a chance to complain more as like a fast food worker or a janitor because your job is hard and physically tolling, is not true, because we don't place value or give value to those folks anyways. We don't give value to fast food workers. I've worked in fast food. Fast food is one of the most disrespected positions that I've ever worked in. I see his position and go, yeah, a 9.5-hour stream, that must be mentally tolling, especially when a lot about like streaming long term and it being a full-time job for some folks is that you have to be social outside of your stream as well in order to be successful. Even in my hardest jobs that I've worked 12, 16-hour shifts on a regular basis for months at a time. And I worked during the peak of COVID. Even during those times, not COVID specifically, but during those hard times and those long shifts, I still wanted to be social to downwind. I think just like Hasan was talking about, when you're in that conversation, you feel bad because you're not being a good conversationalist. You're not being a good friend. You're not being a good like back and forth. Often when people are talking about stuff, they want to talk about themselves. Most people do. And that's fine. But even when you can't contribute to them talking to themselves, people perceive that in a negative fashion sometimes. And that can turn you off to wanting to be social. That was the Twitch drama. So we talked about a few things today. We talked about Twitch drama. We talked about a review of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we talked about Pokemon. I have a couple more videos that I wanted to go over. We'll go over them next stream, honestly, because I've done what, 3 hours now? 3 hours of reacts and just chatting. So let's get to some games. Let's play some Helldivers.